From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
We continue our coverage of police body camera use across the state. We take you on a ride along with a local police department and show you how these cameras work firsthand.
Medical marijuana farming is growing across the state, but some do not want to welcome this new crop into their neighborhood.
Plus, this machine can clean our air better than trees, and it's being made at Arizona State University. We show you how researchers are planning to decrease carbon dioxide in our ecosystem.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Megan Thompson.
And I'm Sonny Scott. Thanks for joining us.
We've been following the progression of House Bill 2511 and the use of body cameras by police across the state of Arizona. Cronkite News reporter Ryan Hill takes a closer look at the legislative effort. Ryan?
Megan, we've seen these cameras live in action in Surprise, Arizona, a town that has been supporting the theory of more body cameras, but has been left with plenty of practical questions.
The officers are real. The crimes actually happened. But the theme song of Cops will not be playing with this video. In August of 2013, the Surprise Police Department became one of many across the country to make body cameras standard issue for officers like Sergeant Anna Weaver.
In the beginning, it was just kind of awkward getting used to the camera because it's a new tool, but using them now, it's almost become second nature.
Surprise Chief of Police Michael T. Frazier thinks is a great advancement for the right price.
I do think the cameras are an excellent tool, but to mandate a camera for every officer, there's a tremendous cost involved with that.
Now State Representative Reginald Boulding is leading the charge for House Bill 2511, which would mandate that all patrol officers don the new technology, and departments find the money to make it happen.
We have to be creative. The federal government, they're announcing grant programs. There's creative ways, and that's where leadership comes in.
Well, we are local. There is an opportunity there.
Companies like Arizona-based Taser International stand to make millions from such a law, and the public might feel safer. But with prices as high as $400 per camera, Chief Frazier says funding is a major concern.
I don't think most chiefs are opposed to the technology. I think most have bought into it, but the issue really becomes how do we afford it?
In Surprise, the cost of the cameras is in the ballpark of $242,000 for the department's 89 cameras meant for patrol officers. Representative Boulding calls that money well spent.
Absolutely. When we have officers with cameras, we see complaints down and we see convictions up. As long as we're in a position to ensure that we don't have to deal with frivolous lawsuits and complaints, we're in a position where we're actually saving money in the long run.
Now, the Surprise Police Department has 90 cameras issued for their officers, and the company that they chose was none other than Taser International. Live in downtown Phoenix, Ryan Hill, Cronkite News.
Alzheimer's disease currently affects an estimated 120,000 people in Arizona. With so many people suffering from the disease, Lauren, you spoke with Mesa Police Department as they try to address the issue in a pilot program.
Sonny, according to a study done by the Alzheimer's Association last year, more than 60% of people diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia will wander away from home. Mesa Police Department is developing a program to better educate law enforcement on how to deal with these cases and to raise awareness about this disease.
I left probably about 8:45 that morning and got home about 12:20, 12:30, and he wasn't home.
It's the biggest fear of caregivers who live with someone diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia. What if their loved one wanders away from home?
By this point, I am completely frantic because I'm just terrified of what's going to happen to him if he's out overnight and, you know, he's going to be without water, he's going to be without food. How scared is he going to be?
Diane Ranson's husband, Don, was found injured but okay 3 miles away from home. Police located him after 27 hours of searching. The search started with local police, and now Mesa Police are working with the Banner Alzheimer's Institute to create an adult ID kit that puts all the information in one place.
It has all of the identifying information, the medical, any kind of drugs that they're taking, what kind of car they drive, and banking information, just everything that our officer would need immediately to try to locate that person.
Jan Doherty of the Banner Alzheimer's Institute says the kit will help both caregivers and law enforcement in an emergency.
We find that when people are in crisis, it's really hard to think straight and give accurate information, so this will allow the family to have what they need when they need it to connect law enforcement to help them find their person.
Ranson believes Don survived due to his good physical health and her ability to provide police with plenty of information. She encourages other caregivers to plan for the unthinkable.
Take the precautions. It is a difficult step to take because you likely feel like you're robbing your loved one of a sense of independence and some say and some autonomy in their own lives, but their safety is the primary concern.
Banner and Mesa PD offered these additional tips for caregivers. Put a bell on the door to indicate when it opens, or put a lock higher up and out of sight, as people with dementia tend to look only straight ahead. Caregivers can also add an additional lock with a safety chain or even deadbolts where only they hold the key. And it's crucial to take away car keys when the person should no longer drive alone or even drive at all. Both also advise not to hesitate to call 911. I'm Lauren Hanley, Cronkite News.
And we've been following this story for you, a bill that would help Arizona microbreweries produce more beer without losing their pubs. Today, not one, but two beer bills made it through the Senate. The most known as SB 1030, headed by Kelly Ward, and its competitor as SB 1437, supported by the Arizona Wine and Spirits Wholesale Association. Before voting began, a rally was held in support of SB 1030, and many showed up in support.
57 of the microbrewers are behind this. The Craft Guild is also behind this. So I think they're a very united community, as you can see by the wonderful amount of support that's out here for 1030.
We think their bill basically helps one brewery and forgets about the 79.
To hear if one or both or neither bill passes. But to check out this infographic and more information on the microbrewery industry, you can head to CronkiteNewsOnline.com.
What next? That's the question residents are asking in one Phoenix neighborhood after efforts to stop a 20-acre medical marijuana growing operation have stalled. Cronkite News reporter Jamie Warren found out in action by the city has some people thinking it's time to turn to the courts.
On a Saturday morning, garage sales are everywhere in this North Phoenix neighborhood.
We've got a lot of old baby clothes because the kids are getting older.
But now kids who live, play, and run in this community may now run into a new neighbor next door.
You have $1 billion company that's trying to just shoehorn and bully their way into the neighborhood.
Mike McCreary, who owns 3G Construction nearby, is talking about a 20-acre medical marijuana growing operation and says neighbors fear its presence may disturb the livelihood of the community.
They're fearful of reduced property values. They're fearful of deterioration of the neighborhood. They're fearful of odors.
State law prohibits a medical marijuana facility within 1,000 feet from a residential neighborhood. But that's not stopping trite companies from moving in, because the city of Phoenix gave the go-ahead.
City representatives say one of the reasons they allowed the variance from the 1,000-foot rule is because of this canal right behind me, which separates the medical marijuana facility from the neighborhood.
Move it somewhere else where you're not so close to homes.
Thursday, neighbors told an appeals board they were never notified about the proposal. Despite protest from dozens of residents, the board upheld the decision.
All of the notice that the city requires, that all notice was provided. It is possible that there were people not registered that didn't receive notice, but we can only provide the list that the city has on record.
Obviously, it was disappointing that it passed through the city without people having the opportunity to be informed.
Now, opponents like Fennell are left to contemplate court action, all the while fearing one day efforts to sell unwanted stuff will become an effort to sell unwanted land. In Phoenix, Jamie Warren, Cronkite News.
The city of Phoenix told Cronkite News today even if it wanted to revisit the decision, doing so now would open the city to a lawsuit from the developer.
The open enrollment period for health insurance is running out.
We take you to one community college where students are being reminded of that deadline and getting wellness checks in the process.
And like this mother, when faced with few options, terminally ill patients and their families are asking for the right to try experimental treatments. Hear one mother's plea to save her son. You're watching Cronkite News, now airing on 8 HD.
There are only 6 more days of open enrollment left for people to sign up for health care insurance. The deadline is February 15th. Cronkite News reporter Katrina Arroyos went to the Phoenix Community College to find out how they are helping students to become aware of the new deadline.
Jasmine Murrieta is like many other Americans. She's uninsured.
Well, I had health insurance, but I think I need to reapply for it. But I just haven't gotten around to it.
There are over 49 million Americans living without health coverage. Phoenix College partnered up with different organizations to host a wellness fair. Nursing students can get first-hand experience taking blood pressure and glucose rates, while uninsured students can receive information on how to apply for coverage.
Out here today to help engage young adults and really everyone in the community about what their rights and options are when it comes to health insurance.
Anyone can make an appointment to meet one-on-one with trained enrollment assisters to discuss their options, free of charge. As of now, Arizona has more than 174,000 people who have selected a plan or re-enrolled. Those who do not sign up for health insurance do face some consequences.
From 2014, those penalties are $95 per person or 1% of household income. They go up for 2015, though, to $325 per person or 2% of household income.
The penalties are high, but for Murrieta, the reason to have health insurance is more personal.
I'm definitely gonna get it because, what if something happens and I don't have it? I'm gonna, I won't get covered.
The Wellness Fair is educating many students about their healthcare options, and with resources available, the enrollment numbers are expected to grow. In Phoenix, I'm Katrina Arroyos, Cronkite News.
Those who would like to know more about their healthcare options or find a location to speak with a trained enrollment assistant can go to coveraz.org.
The Food and Drug Administration is making it easier for Americans with terminal illnesses to access experimental drugs. Cronkite News reporter Sarah Oshwin met with a mother whose son needed a faster application process for these drugs.
Modern medicine and technology have grown rapidly over the last 30 years, but critics are saying the regulations haven't kept up.
The Food and Drug Administration's Compassionate Use Program lets patients with terminal illnesses try experimental drugs. The only problem? The application used to take 100 hours. Time that patients and doctors just don't have. Paulina Morris, who pushed for Arizona's right to try law last year after her son Diego was diagnosed with a rare bone disease.
A long time and a lot of money, and people can't wait. When you find out you have a terminal illness, you need to act quickly.
That all changed when the FDA announced plans recently to shorten the process from a grueling 100 hours to as little as 45 minutes.
A shorter form is nice, but it's still a form that you have to fill out to ask the government for permission to save your own life. And if you are a mother with a dying child and you know that there is a drug out there that is starting to help other children, a short form just isn't good enough.
The Goldwater Institute was on the front lines of last year's ballot initiative to give people with a terminal illness the right to try in Arizona. Coleman said it's a fight that needs to continue.
This law is to make sure that people who are fighting for their lives have access to treatment and medicines that will save them without having the government stop them from trying to save their own life. The FDA proposition still has to undergo 60 days of public comment before it can take effect. Reporting live from Washington, D.C., Sierra Oshrin, Cronkite News.
Increasing carbon dioxide levels are leading to new technologies from one Arizona university.
It works 1,000 times better than a tree. We show you this new program to help remove the harmful gas from the atmosphere.
Plus, the future of the monarch butterfly could be brighter than expected. That's because of a new initiative in Washington. We break down the plan and what it could mean for Arizona.
The more you know about history, the more you know about yourself. Let's turn the page.
I believe that this nation should commit itself.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
You can almost divide American history before Robinson and after Robinson.
Seeing is believing.
We broke records. We broke barriers.
This is incredible.
Suddenly the big picture makes more sense.
We have unprecedented access.
Now I can seize my ancestors Now I'm looking into their world. Now I can see where they walked.
Welcome back to Cronkite News. SRP customers were able to voice their opinions to the company's board about the proposed rate increases. A packed house for the meeting on rate hikes here. SRP is considering raising rates almost 4% for those who have solar energy. The solar energy customers at the meeting, they felt that this raise would be unfair because they switched to solar energy to save money in the long term. If this rate increase passes, customers at the meeting were saying that they believe their average bill could possibly double. An SRP official says that this is necessary to make up for the difference that non-solar customers pay to maintain electricity service to everyone.
Customers that we have, low-income customers, customers that don't have rooftop solar and never will, are going to be bearing the burden of paying for the grid that these customers are currently not doing.
I feel that they're being very short-sighted. Solar is the way to go, renewable energy is the way to go, and this is just going to kill the industry in Arizona.
The board will vote on the proposed increase at the February 26th meeting at the SRP Para Club.
New technologies are emerging at ASU to combat climate change. Cronkite News reporter Selena Bussey found out what type of technology the Center for Negative Carbon Emissions is working on. Selena?
Sunny, with levels of CO2 in our atmosphere rising at record numbers, researchers at ASU have developed a system in order to reduce this problem.
We are in a way already too late.
Dr. Klaus Lackner is referring to the latest report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. He's the director of the Center for Negative Carbon Emissions at ASU. His latest research project, reduce the amount of carbon in our atmosphere.
The most straightforward and direct way is to pull CO2 back out of the air. Now a growing tree does that, and we aspire to do the same thing, and we can do it at a scale which is much faster than a tree.
Lackner says the type of carbon dioxide collector his facility builds collects about 1,000 times more CO2 per day than a real tree. While the technology in Dr. Lackner's facility is still in its research stage, there are always risks that come with this type of research.
If things start from a laboratory scale and get huge, there's always something you are likely to have overlooked. On the other hand, I think the risk of not doing something is much, much, much higher.
With risk being a factor in this technology, some say without it, losses in Arizona could be huge.
When we look at the temperature increases that we're talking about, potentially by 2070, maybe even before that, Arizona becomes uninhabitable.
Burns says finding a solution is critical to our ecosystems.
These ecosystems will not be able to support humans in the future.
Lackner says there isn't an immediate solution to this crisis, but awareness is ultimately key.
Every carbon you put out has to be taken back, right? For every ton of carbon coming out of the ground, another ton has to go back, right? That awareness is ultimately critical.
The center says their biggest challenge has been funding. However, they say that they plan to have an outdoor operating system in the near future. Live in downtown Phoenix, Selena Bussey, Cronkite News.
Well, the weather in the valley continues to heat up while parts of the East Coast can expect even more snowfall. Let's get a check of your weather with Katrina Arroyos to see what we can expect for the rest of the week. Katrina?
Well, Megan, we were so close to beating the record of 84 degrees set back in 1987, but we have been above the average of 70 degrees. As you can see throughout the valley, we are well into the 80s, 83 in Tempe, 80 in Phoenix, and 81 in Scottsdale. Throughout the state, we see different temperatures, such as down south, 82 in Tucson, 89 in Yuma, up north much cooler, 62 degrees at the Grand Canyon, and 60 degrees in Flagstaff. Tonight, though, we are going to cool off to 58 degrees with partly cloudy skies. You're probably wondering, why are we so hot during the day but so cold at night? The reason for this is due to this area of high pressure all throughout the area. We see up north there's moisture, and even to the east there's moisture, but with high pressure currently above us, it's bringing us high temperatures. But going into our weekend, we can expect a cool down, 80 degrees on Valentine's Day and 78 degrees on Sunday. Going into the rest of the week, we're going to be well into the 80s, 83 on Thursday, up to 85 on Friday, in the 50s for your lows. For Cronkite Weather, I'm Katrina Arroyos.
The federal government announced a program today that aims to protect monarch butterflies. Millions fly through the Southwest every year during their winter migrations. Cronkite News Washington reporter Andrew Romanoff was there for today's announcement.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says the population of monarch butterflies has declined 90% in recent years.
So the decline of monarchs is related to this loss of milkweed from the North American landscape.
In response, the federal agency and two advocacy groups announced Monday that they have joined forces. They'll spend over $3 million to conserve monarch habitats throughout the country. The bright orange butterflies migrate south to California and Mexico every year, passing through parts of Arizona. And advocates say people everywhere can help.
But there are actions that we can each take today on the ground in neighborhoods, in backyards, in schools, and business campuses, at universities, and communities across this entire country.
To help, Tucson's Center for Biological Diversity says Arizonans should plant milkweed where the butterflies can lay their eggs. The milkweed plants should be native to Arizona and not treated with pesticides.
Yes, they're an important species for pollination, but they're also important to a lot of school kids all across this country.
That way, people can enjoy the insects, which could become endangered for many years to come. In Washington, Andrew Romanov, Cronkite News.
Conservationists say the butterflies are mostly threatened by pesticides used in farming.
After making a home at the U.S. Capitol for over 8 decades, Arizona's John Campbell Greenway statue will be leaving National Statuary Halls. We take you to Washington, where they're preparing for Goldwater's long-awaited move to our nation's capital.
At ASU, we believe the most important semester is the one that starts after you get your diploma, the one called life. So we work hard to help our alumni thrive, teaching them the importance of not only achieving their goals, but exceeding them. With innovative programs that embrace hands-on learning, that encourages real-world growth. Our alumni know it can be the education of a lifetime, for a lifetime. For more information, thrive.asu.edu.
Should I believe in the world, Mama?
I think so.
Should I give up and hide, or should I stay and fight? Should I believe in the rules, Mama?
What are the consequences?
Can I speak out my mind in these changing times? I don't know what to believe, Mama.
Will you march with us?
There's a fire inside, there's a storm on the rise. Give me a reason to be, Mama.
Buonasera.
'Cause I need someone to believe, believe, believe in.
The world is more complicated than it's ever been.
The NewsHour is always going to take you deeper and take you broader.
And that is worth fighting for.
Night after night, 7 days a week.
I'm Maria Hinojosa.
I'm Gwen Eichel. And I'm Judy Woodruff.
On behalf of all of us here, thanks for watching.
Cronkite News is proud to join the Arizona PBS News block here on 8 HD. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
Coming up after Cronkite News on Arizona Horizon, we will discuss the role of after-school activities in student success, and we'll look at how engineers are using robotics technology in physical therapy. That's coming up on Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, a documentary series tackles the problems of gender oppression at home and around the globe.
The effort to get a statue of Arizona icon Barry Goldwater in the U.S. Capitol has been years in the making, but there's another side of the story that hasn't been told. Cronkite News reporter Tara Terragino brings us the details from Washington.
Statues in Washington, but on Wednesday there will be one less as John Greenway leaves our nation's capital. Back in his day, John Campbell Greenway was a legend in Arizona.
He also just an incredible mining pioneer and an inventor, a problem solver and a leader in Arizona at a time when Arizona was growing and needed leadership.
But legends come and go, and on Wednesday, Greenway is moving out of the U.S. Capitol to make room for a new Arizona legend, Barry Goldwater. And that's okay with Will Conroy, a fourth-generation descendant of Greenway.
The main thing we feel is just, an extraordinary amount of pride in John Greenway and in his legacy. We love the fact that he's represented Arizona in Statuary Hall for this amount of time.
Even if his statue is gone, Conroy says his accomplishments will always be remembered.
Our family has a great awareness of the personal debt of gratitude we owe to John Greenway and Isabella. We think of them as sort of a team.
I spoke with Arizona's State Librarian Joan Clark, who said Greenway will be placed in Arizona's Capitol complex, where an exhibit will be placed around its statue. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Tara Terragino, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News will be there on Wednesday when the Goldwater is officially unveiled in Statuary Hall.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Find top Arizona stories anytime at CronkiteNewsOnline.com.